talk to both Paddy and to Jay Bregman about some of the issues to do with startups, entrepreneurship, business, what to do when you're in college, and all that kind of stuff. And there's going to be plenty of time as well for questions from the floor to both Paddy and Jay, because that's probably where most of the intelligent stuff will come. We've lots of questions to get through. I'm just going to start, though, by actually coming to that issue that we've had over the last week, and that is the Web Summit. So the Web Summit, for any of you living under a rock, is to leave Dublin for Lisbon. So Paddy, what's the thinking behind that?
Well, I mean, the Web Summit started as something that was very, very small, and actually the first event was here in the Edmund Burke. I've seen one or two lecturers who I know were at it, and over a very short space of time it grew very, very fast, and this year we'll welcome about 30,000 people to Dublin. And in about 2013 the city really began to start to kind of creep under the volume of people that were just coming to the city, and by last year I don't know if anybody volunteered and they were trying to get a bus or they were trying to get down to the RDS. The city just almost kind of ground to a halt. And so infrastructurally, I just think it's very difficult for Dublin to host an event of that scale. And there are a number of other cities, maybe about 15 cities in Europe, that can host something of that scale. And it's for no other reason but just wanting to continue to give our attendees the best experience possible that we need to find another one.
If infrastructure is an issue, could you see the Web Summit at some point coming back to Dublin?
Well, I noticed today the government has announced €27 billion infrastructure investment fund, which is obviously related to the Web Summit. They're going to do that anyway. No. So, I mean, right now we're just focused on 2015, and then we're going to Lisbon, and we're there for 3 years. That's kind of 4 years out, and in tech, that's a very long period of time. So.
I mean, my last question on this is, some of the government's response essentially was to the point that, according to Minister for Finance Newman, Minister for Jobs and Enterprise Richard Bruton, that the Web Summit has now become a global event, and of course it was going to leave Ireland because it's a global event, and move on to bigger and better things. The suggestion seems to be that Ireland isn't a place which is a natural fit to host a global event like that. What did you think when you heard that?
Well, I honestly think it's just size. So it's, I mean, there are many smaller global events in smaller cities, and there are many much larger global events in smaller cities than Dublin. But it's just, you know, every city has strengths and weaknesses, and infrastructurally moving 30,000 people into the city, it just, I mean, you know, everybody's probably read about some of the kind of hotel prices and the limitations with kind of hotel rooms in the city, and then just infrastructurally there's no, you know, there's no metro line or kind of metro link from the airport, which just makes it difficult for people to move. And then the option that most people that have flown into Dublin take, and these are a lot of kind of business people, is always get a taxi to the RDS, and that then already just chokes the city even further in terms of just public transport.
But it's not all bad.
No. So I mean, this year should be great, but I think, you know, the city will creep, and moving it up to 40 or 50,000 people, it just, I'm not too sure.
So you're expecting 30,000 in 6 weeks' time?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay, and that's spread right across the RDS?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's not all bad, Jay.
I mean, it's, you know, so Dublin is a beautiful city insofar as, for its size, it has a vastly disproportionate amount of taxis. And so, although there isn't the, you know, the kind of subway or bus network that you would find in many other cities that are of the same size, there is a beautiful on-demand taxi network that not at a big price, given that the taxi prices are quite low and the city is, you know, in terms of mileage, quite small.
Is there any one taxi service?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of them, but there's one in particular that dominates the market and has repelled competitors successfully for a number of years.
Can you tell us about how Hailo came about? You're a co-founder of Hailo. How did that come about, and what was the context there?
Sure. Well, really, it came about because speed with that business. And there were a number of reasons why that didn't happen. Some was, we hit, the business hit the wall like many people providing business services during the recession. The other was we had to actually, lease and own all of the vehicles, the couriers that we provided, and that was really expensive and hard to scale. So anyway, we had thought about using the same kind of technology that we had developed for the courier, and with the same kind of ideas, and to use it to optimize the taxi market. And the taxi market was always of interest to me because it was a larger market, it was a consumer market, it was regulated, and so it had this kind of like appeal as the big brother, the grown-up big brother to the same-day delivery industry. So when that business, the courier, ended, I got the band back together with some of the executives and developers from the courier, and we started Hailo with the idea that we would take this existing supply base of tens of thousands of cabs in London, and then in many other cities, and we would basically connect them all together using just software, just apps that we would basically give to taxi drivers who already had their own smartphones, so we wouldn't have to have any infrastructure costs. And then we connect them to people on the street that could use credit cards to book and pay for the journey. Now, in 2010, this was a foreign concept to the world, and you have to understand that it was difficult to raise even our first round of venture capital, let alone our second round of venture capital, because people still would say, well, it's just like a taxi business. Like, it's really not a tech business, it's not sexy.